Welcome to another episode of From the Tackle Box. This is going to be very much a departure from my usual videos. In this video, I'm not actually talking about any knife or anything. I'm actually talking about how I make a minnow trap using an old water bottle. It's something I do almost every time I go fishing for a few days because it's a lot cheaper to catch minnows than to go buy minnows, and this really works well. So I thought I'd share it with other people who like to go fishing. That's what this is all about. Getting ready to go fishing in a couple weeks. Been a while since I've been able to get out on a lake and go fishing. Got to remember to bring my Ice Mountain water jugs though. The ones that are 3 quarts, 5.4 fluid ounces. This is the size you need to get. Now there's a couple reasons you want these Ice Mountain jugs. First, they're great for sun tea. Throw in about 5 tea bags. If you want it sweetened, throw in like 3/4 of a cup of sugar before you put in the tea bags. Shake it all up, throw in the tea bags. You're going to have some great sweet tea while you're out on the lake. Or if you don't want it sweet, leave the sugar out. I don't know why some people do that. But then when all that tea's gone, you got one of the best minnow traps you'll ever find. These little jugs right here. I'll show you what you need to do. Now your first step is you're going to have to take off the label because minnows really don't want to read. Now the reason you want to have a minnow trap instead of going buy your minnows, there's a couple reasons. The first one is the obvious one. It's cheaper to catch your own than go to the store and buy some. The second reason is a lot of people believe that if you use the minnows that are in the lake that you're fishing in, you're more likely to catch the species that's in the lake because they're used to eating those minnows. So what you're going to do is get this label off and get as much of the paper off as you can. Over time, the paper is going to come off just sitting in the water. And the minnows aren't that picky. They will come with or without the paper on there. But you do want to get most of the label off. And then the next thing you got to do, the bottom here, if you notice the shape of it, a nice cone shape, it's like the perfect minnow trap. The only problem is there's a bottom in the bottom here, which fits the cap on the top of the bottle, so you can actually stack these things. But what you're going to do is cut this hole out, so you get yourself a nice trusty knife and start cutting. Let me see. Do I have a knife here? I might have a knife somewhere. Oh yeah, here's one. So now what I'm going to end up using is my outrider, but you might want to use something more like a regular fixed blade, but you definitely need something that has a locking blade. And the reason I'm going to use the outrider is that's the first knife I used when I was making one of these. And you have to plunge a hole through there and be careful not to push too fast, because if you do, sorry I'm not showing you, but you want to cut a hole into there by just whittling the blade until you get through there. And once you get that first hole in, you got to be very careful because the blade is going to come through, and it might come through and hit all the way through. And sometimes you have to plunge the blade in several times. But once you get the blade in place, get it back out, you can either make another hole, or what I tend to do is I close up the blade, and now that I've got a pilot hole, I break out the saw so I can just cut around. It's going to be noisy. It's also going to take a while. I'm going to do this off camera. Okay, 15 minutes later, you can see I've almost cut it all the way through. I've got it just kind of hanging there. Used to be a lot easier a long time ago, but then broke my elbow a couple years ago, and tell you what, cutting like that is not fun. But what I want to do is I want to pull this out through here. Doesn't matter if it ends up in the inside, then it's inside, but I figure it's a little bit of a distraction for the minnows. Once I get it on that side, the last part I should be able to just twist and break off. And so now I have the hole for the minnow trap, and I can just kind of break off all this other excess plastic that's on the inside, but that's really not going to matter too much either. But once the hole is in place, we're almost set for the minnows to come in. It's going to set down like so. Now, this bottom portion, this is the thickest plastic on the entire bottle because it's supporting the entire bottle. This portion right here. That, if you notice, look at how thick that is. Can you see there? It's good 1/8 inch thick, and that's why it is so hard to cut. The sides of the plastic are a lot easier to cut into, and what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to poke a hole. Here's the handle portion. We're going to poke a hole. If you notice, there's a seam here. Poke a hole at the top and bottom of that seam so that we can pass a line through it. Now, what I use is floral wire right here. Costs $3. You get tons of it for $3. If you don't have some, you need to get some. You should throw it in your tackle box, throw it in your bug out bag. You need floral wire. The stuff has countless uses, and it's great for making one of these, and you'll see what we do with it. So let's see, I'm going to close up the saw. I don't need that anymore, so I'm going to put a hole in the top and in the bottom. Little hole. Notice how quickly and easily it went through that time. And then a little bit bigger hole on this side. Take my floral wire and pass it through one side and just keep going to the other side. Come on, you can do it. Now you could also do this with fishing line, but fishing line is a little trickier. It takes a little longer to get through there. But whatever way you want to do it, you want to get this through here. Notice it's still going crooked. Let me get it straightened out. Some people just tape it, but tape, it's for amateurs. We're going fishing. We're going to go fish for the other hole on the other side. And anyone ever go to jump school? Hit the hole, pole man, hit the hole. And that's kind of what you're doing here. You're just hitting the hole. See, not too hard. Now the reason you want that is because you need something to hook your line to, because you're going to be able to just drop this into the water and then recover it. Obviously it's just coated wire so it can rust out, but these things, it's $2. You know, end of the season, you can toss it away, or if you want to use it again, just replace the wire. And they do work. Now, what the other thing we're going to do once we get this part done, oh, and here's something else cool about this stuff. You can break it with your own hands. And you can also tie it in knots. So we get our floral wire in place so that we can drop this into the water, and then we can actually attach this to a line so we can recover it easy enough. And what you're going to want to do is you're going to put a couple holes in the top here so that when you're dropping this into the water, it will fill up faster. Throw your bait in the bottom here, drop it in the water, get it in the direction of current. If you're putting it into a stream or something, minnows go in, they're too stupid to come back out, and then you just check it every once in a while. So all you need are, you know, little fish food or some bread or whatever you want to use for your minnows, and you got a great little minnow catcher. A lot easier than going out with a net or something like that, but nets are also kind of fun and keep the kids busy. So there you have it, a minnow catcher out of an ice mountain bottle, and you can usually grab about 20 minnows at a time with this thing. It takes about 3 or 4 minutes to catch a bunch of minnows, depending on how well they're feeding at the time. What the heck, I suppose I should show you how to put the holes in. I use the reamer from a Cub Scout knife. pretty easy. I got a bunch of holes in the bottom here, and then like I said, about 4 up here. These are just to let the water pass through. This way the jug will sink in the water. I guess I'll put 6 in. The holes don't have to be too big, because if they're too big then the minnows might actually figure out a way out. But there you go. And you can do it yourself. So there you have it, a minnow trap out of an old Ice Mountain jug. Cost you about $2 plus about 20 minutes worth of elbow grease. I've been making minnow traps out of these things for about 4 years now, and they work every time I put them in the water. So highly recommend at least giving it a shot. Might not look like the best thing in the world, but it works, and that's the important thing. As always, if you like this video, please like and share and leave a comment, and consider subscribing to my channel if you haven't already subscribed to it. Thanks a lot for dropping by. I really appreciate your support.